Hello, everybody. Welcome to an introduction to history of sports with Coach McCray. Thank you for joining this class this year. I know it's going to be interesting with COVID and everything, but we're going to try and make the best of it. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, we have to talk about what are sports. The definition that the dictionary gives is a sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team compete against one another for entertainment or leisure. We all play sports. We see sports on television fairly often. America is pretty much driven by sports. We are the country who favor sports more, and we pay athletes more than pretty much anybody else, other than maybe musicians or TV stars and things like that. But sports are very prevalent, so you all know what they are. You've seen them on TV. You've seen them in person. Every school has sports. So that's what the definition is. What elements make up a sport? First of all, individuals or team competing towards a common goal. Typically, that goal is to win a game. It could be to score points. There is a common goal, though. Scoring, so just like I was talking about, in baseball you score, or softball you score runs, basketball, football you score points, soccer you score goals. Tennis has its own unique scoring system. I'm not really sure how it works all the time, but we can talk about that later. Third is judgment. There's always some type of referee or umpire or judge in every sport. Even in golf, there are rules, and you're supposed to referee or judge yourself, and others hold each other accountable. Four, there are typically penalties in every sport. There's flags, fouls. In soccer, you can get a red card or a yellow card. You can be ejected in every sporting event, which makes you disqualified from the game. And there's competition, and there has been progression of technology and physical training. You can comment or send me an email about what other things you think should be included in elements of sports. But here are 6 basic elements. So what's the difference between a sport and a game? A sport involves physical activity, whereas a game only involves skill. Examples of sports would be things like curling, because there is physical activity. You're moving down the ice. Swimming, biathlon, and then you got your classics: baseball, softball, football, basketball, volleyball are great examples of sports. Examples of games could be board games, card games, or even now electronic games, which gamers get paid a lot more money than a lot of people if you're really good at those games. So how do sports influence society and culture? 1, health and fitness. Typically, you want to be in shape to play sports. Camaraderie, so they inspire good friendships amongst each other and make you want to pull for the same goal or the same team. Rivalries are great. You always have someone to pull against with those people that you're pulling for. Social movements now more than ever. So here's your health and fitness. There's your camaraderie. Here's some of your rivalries and your social movements. How has race influenced sports? Well, we can talk about this in class, and you'll definitely have an assignment on this. Just understand that in sports, Jackie Robinson was the first African American to play a professional sport, or at least a major professional sport. There were actually 4 NFL players before Jackie Robinson crossed over into Major League Baseball. The point I'm trying to make on this slide is that sports are typically favored by races, dependent on social economic status and what race is in a social economic status. So every race can play every sport, but some sports require more money. So if you look, the NFL and the NBA are predominantly black players or African American players, not as many white players and not as many other minorities. But then you have sports like Major League Baseball, which is predominantly white, but then it's Latino or Hispanic and then just 12% of all Major League Baseball players are black. And you could ask, why is that? Well, historically, African Americans grow up in poverty since Jim Crow, since slavery. And so growing up in poverty, you play sports where the equipment is either provided or there is not a lot of equipment involved. In sports like baseball and hockey, you have to have a glove, a bat, a stick, some skates, whatever it may be, which is why traditionally over time African Americans have leaned towards playing sports like football and basketball. Now, does that mean African Americans can't play baseball or hockey? No, that's not the case. I'm just trying to explain to you, the trends over history. So here's Jackie Robinson. He was born into a sharecropping family in Georgia in 1919. First varsity athlete to ever letter in 4 sports at UCLA. Those sports are baseball, basketball, football, and track. He joined the Army and was discharged. He played in the Negro Leagues, which actually this year is the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues, which is a huge milestone in the United States. He played for the Kansas City Monarchs, who was the team that Satchel Paige also played for. He signed to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, breaking the MLB's color barrier for the first time, and was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame just 15 years later in 1962. He also used his platform to become one of the first major celebrity advocates for African American rights in the country. So how has gender influenced sports? We're going to talk about this. We have a whole unit on minorities in sports and women in sports. Title IX has influence, which gives women, it forces schools to give women an equal amount of scholarships so that women can play sports as well. We will cover women's college sports versus women's professional sports later on when we get to women's sports. You can look up women's salaries compared to men's salaries if you'd like. But the big thing we need to talk about is Title IX. So Title IX was passed by Congress in 1972. It prohibits discrimination based on sex in all federally funded education programs, including sports. Gives women more opportunity to play sports in college, in addition to get an education on scholarship. And so that's all for today. That's just a little quick brief introduction on sports. Please make sure that if you have any questions, you email me or you can call and leave me a message here at the school. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you soon.